So I thought I was going to get out of speaking because I'm 10 months into 1 year of marriage. They're like, no, you're perfect. Like, yeah, okay. So this has really been awesome conversation as far as taking it between home life and work life. My name is Daphne Dickens. I'm the development manager for the American Diabetes Association of Central Iowa. So I think after we had our discussion, I think the biggest takeaway from that is expectations for yourself and for your spouse. I think, it's really looking at, okay, well, this is how I would do it. Why aren't you doing it that way? When if it gets done on the long end, it gets done on the long end. Perfect. Okay, that's not how I would mow the yard, but it looks great, honey. Keep going. And then I think our second expectation would be on ourselves. So what really are we taking away? What expectations are we putting on ourselves? If the dishes don't get done for 3 days, but you're enjoying time with your family and friends, I think that's totally okay. So I think it's just upholding those expectations for yourself and maybe letting go of a few things, and you're still okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next table. We're going to keep it going nice and fast.
Okay, we defined the topic, the problem, as raising the respect. And the more we respect the co-parenting and show that engagement in our homes, the more it's going to carry into the workplace. Showing the respect for the mom that isn't defined by being a mom and that identifies more as a career mom, or the dad that is staying at home and running things. This respect is going to help us all train our brains, similar to what Rita said earlier, to think positive thoughts about this and have those that Gucci brain power going more and shopping more.
Let's go to the table all the way in the middle. Oh, John, it looks like you've got the mic.
John, you're in charge. What do you got? No, everyone's seriously looking at you right now.
I know they're all looking at you.
All right, we'll go over
She's
here.
our spokesperson. It's just, I think it's this table.
No, we're skipping that.
Oh, you don't have anything? Okay, it's on.
Well, you guys did a really good job with the theme. We didn't quite have a theme, but we said, these are some of our different little tips. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. So whether it's a stay-at-home mom making you feel like a bad parent, or a coworker that makes you feel like a bad worker, don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. And if you want something done a certain way, do it yourself. So figure out a way to be okay with okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, and some people already said let it go. Find support. So find other people that share your mother-in-law or share your career aspirations. Find support people. My friend Emily is gone, but we have a support group called Royal Leadership Academy, actually, called Bad Moms and Pencil Skirts. So the movie is actually after us. So find that support group, and don't keep score with other people or your spouse. And then we said, figure it out. You don't really need any of this advice. Put one foot in front of the other and you'll be just fine.
Thank you. We'll keep on moving along.
Well, ours are going to be short and sweet, and I think probably one of the biggest ones regarding the stereotypes, we said, just kind of keep in mind, remember, women don't always have to, and please forgive me the French, we don't always have to be the bitch to be the boss. So keep that in mind. Maintain and keep your own identity and keep your interests in mind, but don't forget those at the end of the day. Don't keep score was a big one, and choose your battles.
Come on down to the front table.
Okay, we have a few takeaways that we discussed. First is the confidence. Really maintain your confidence throughout your career. Like, that's one of our main goals in our club at Iowa State. And, this is really so that, like, once you get to a certain point in your career, like, don't let anybody drag you down. You still can do whatever you want to do. And then this has been mentioned a lot of times before, like, let them do it, don't control them. I'm still afraid of marriage after this conversation, but I think this is like last week we had all these group projects to do because I'm in my final semester at Iowa State, and it's just really like working in a team, everybody does it, and you have to let crew members work together. Like, you can't control it, and that's been one of my biggest things in college, was to learn how to let people do their share of work rather than me just doing all of it so that I can get an A. So I think that's important. And then last, one big thing in our group is mentorship, and we have a mentorship with our mentor program within our club, as well as we try to reach out to ladies just like Sarah to help us mentor, or help have them mentor us. So our third and last point is we really need to find mentors in life, whether that's your partner or someone at work, someone you can go to get through these things, because like we were having lunch, ladies were coming up to me saying, just go for it, just go for it. And that's the kind of people we need to really move forward.
Now we'll go to the back.
Hi, we had a couple things, two that sort of go together. One was one of the ladies who had to jet off to a meeting, but she was talking about she and her husband actually have a household business meeting where they actually sit down and talk about sort of the business of the week and what's coming up and plan their vacations, and they actually sit down and do it in a methodical, business-like way. We were talking about how that would eliminate the stress of, you know, the night before, what kind of who's picking up tomorrow and those kind of things. And then we talked about outsourcing in your household. What are the things and the places where you can outsource some of those responsibilities? So we talked about the life-changing Amazon Prime and hiding items online, and what you can have someone else or technology do for you rather than continuing to take on that burden. And then the last thing we talked about is that it's not only okay to say no to doing something without having to rationalize or give a reason why you're saying no, but it's also okay to stop doing something that's no longer fulfilling you or is just taking up time. And several of us had examples where we stepped off a committee or off a role and just said, I can't do this anymore, and then it's okay to say no to that.
You guys want to chime in the middle?
I don't know if we're the only husband-wife team that's here today or not, but one of the things that bubbled up for us was wanting to hear stories. Sarah, I really appreciated you bringing up the cliff effect, and Dave left, but just the admiration for the single parent, and you know, coming from a place of deep privilege, hearing more stories about folks that are in a dual parenting relationship that are having to struggle with some of these things that are just daily acts of life, and so not sharing those responsibilities. And then also just talking about the gender disparity between men and women, and but you know, asking these same questions about what's going on in single sex or you know, pairings with homosexual partners in these types of situations as well, and what that dynamic is like for them. So just wanting to hear from those about those stories as well.
Now into the front. We have about 7 minutes left, so I'm going to ask everyone to be really quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat it because it highlights the importance. Don't keep score. That kept coming up. Have a conversation with or without kids, because even once the kids are gone, apparently these issues can arise as well. Communication is key. Don't forget to say thank you. It goes a long way. You are treated as you allow yourself to be treated. And don't micromanage. Be okay with how the work is done by a spouse.
Thank you.
We talked about allowing failure and accepting failure, not micromanaging ourselves, not micromanaging our children, learning from the experiences that you have, allowing, accepting, and enjoying failure along the way.
We talked at our table a lot about the importance of communication. If you're having specific conflicts, actually talking about it, which I think is really important. But another thing I wanted to say to the college students is I think we spend so much time these days talking about the conflict we have with work and family, but we don't talk about how being married can be really fun and having kids can be really fun. Nobody ever told me how awesome it would be to be a parent. And I remember Sarah last year at the LEAP meeting talking about how it's so cool when her kids see her walk out the door to be the mayor, And I think it's important to think about how our family and our work can help each other. I am a better professor because I'm a mom, and I think that my son benefits tremendously from the work that I do and the work that my husband does. So instead of always thinking about work-family conflict, think about how work and family sometimes really enhance one another.
Hi, a name that we kind of came up with, and Carol actually kept using the word is partnership. You know, even with the traditional roles, they were partnership, just in a different way. So it's redefining it. What does partnership look like now? And having those conversations. So one of the biggest things that really came out of our conversations that, you know, we're all talking about different ways to implement it, but to learn. To learn about yourself, to learn about how to be in a relationship. And life is a series of learning, and relationships are one of the biggest ways that you develop yourself. So if you're having a problem with communicating, conflict resolution, or how you pick a partner, how you do those things, Google it. There's no shortage of information out there. There are people that have been before you that are successful in their relationships, in their careers. Learn, continue to learn about what the obstacle is that's in front of you.
Hi, we talked a lot about being on autopilot. We tend to just kind of graze over our lives and not really sit and reflect. Like, you know, sometimes children and adults, we throw a fit when we don't get our way. So, but really, have we ever sat down and asked ourselves, what is our own way? What am I prioritizing? And we talk a lot about leaning in, and I read that book and I loved it. But what about leaning back? So leaning back and letting the spouse do it their way. You know, is my way always the best way? That's the big question. And then you know, knowing yourself fully. I mean, especially with the college girls here too, is know yourself fully in your bones and what you want, what your priorities are. And live from that, not from going outside in. Thanks.
So to play off that, know yourself, address your stuff, trust your partner, communicate with your family, and do not let society, no matter what your family has decided, affect your choice. And then as far as the name, we don't really see it as a problem, but it really is about family management in the new world. So whatever your family decides to do, stick with it, and nobody else can have a say.
I don't think we necessarily had anything that hasn't already somewhat been covered, but I think I would just reiterate the idea of, you know, finding what works for you and your partnership, and, you know, just knowing that there's not really a playbook that tells you what's going to work, that you and your partner have to figure it out. And then, you know, just as people, what may work for me and my husband and our family might not work for the next person. So I think even in, you know, in the workplace, we need to be accepting of.
So I'm just going to echo two main ones. And our first, number one, was we love the idea of lowering the bar or leaning back, and then not micromanaging our kids. We don't have kids, but kids or partners or employees maybe even. And then for everything else, we defer to all that excellent thoughts that were going on among you fabulous people. So thank you.
Our table covered a lot of what's been spoken about as well now that I think about all the time. So it's great. Some practical advice: make use of organizational tools such as shared calendars. They're wonderful. One big thing we talked about, I think it touched all of us, was managing expectations from the beginning. So I think Amanda said something about putting the genie back in the bottle. And part of that too is with your sons or daughters, teaching them to be self-sufficient and in household roles, things like that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And no matter who it is, your husband, your mother, your sister. And being okay with not being that super mom, not having the Pinterest Valentines and the birthday parties with pony rides. So just be okay with being who you are and hanging out with your kids. So I think that covers it for us.
The other thing we'll do is we'll have video from today's event and also photos, and we're going to be trying to take some of this advice and trying to put it into something that's really useful so that you guys can share that with people that you know, with your husbands, with your coworkers, with people that are dealing with the same topic. That's going to be in Lift Iowa. It's our weekly e-newsletter that goes out on Mondays. If I could I have Ann and Megan, Ann Crothers K and Megan, stand up and give a big wave. The two of them put together Lift Iowa every week for you. But they can't do it without the help from everybody here in the room and everybody that reads Lift. It's really a unique product for us. We want you to, when you come across articles or new research or new apps, new things that could benefit other women that are reading the e-newsletter, to send it along directly to them. That's how we make that product so engaging. Not only that, if you're interested in writing guest opinion pieces, Megan is always looking for people for that as well. And those get featured in the Business Record and the Business Record dailies as well. So we would encourage you to look at doing that and working with them. That's how we make that product so great. And lastly, if you would, please share that in the newsletter with as many women as you can. Our reach has gotten, we've only been doing that now for about 2 years, and the reach has gotten to a really good point. The more women we're able to reach, that's how we can continue getting those good ideas and that good feedback as well. That's it for me. So we'll give you each a chance to give a final thought here, and we'll call it good.
A little over a year ago, I was at a retreat, and we were all tasked with deciding one goal for the upcoming 12 months. Just one, had to pick one, only one. And so the goal I selected was to give my children a happy mom. And then I had to start thinking about what that meant, and what that meant to me is looking at what my priorities really are and then protecting those priorities. My priorities, my real true ones, are not the same necessarily as my husband's priorities. There are some overlapping ones. But then looking at every day, am I meeting those priorities? One of my priorities is to have fun with my kids. It's not to make them a really good meal and all sit around the table eating it. I would much rather be out on the trampoline with them. And so, it's okay, let's hurry through dinner. It's probably takeout, and then let's get outside and have some fun. That's a priority for me, and I work really hard to protect that. But I also work really hard to help my husband protect his priorities as well, and that's where the partnership comes in. What are the things that are most important to him? Am I being a good love of his life by making sure he's able to protect those priorities? And conversely, am I feeling the support that I need from him to protect mine? And we find that we're the happiest in our marriage. I'm the happiest mom, he's the happiest dad when we're doing that, when we're succeeding in that. And it's not all the time, but it's often enough.
So I have a large ask of everyone that's in this room. We've spent some time today talking about paternity leave, but I also want you to think about it on the other end. We were talking about this when we were eating our food. What about the family care leave for when we are all leading companies and organizations, because we'll be CEOs and on all these boards? How will you have the time to take care of your aging family members? So please go back to all the organizations you work for and say, what are we doing about family care and family care flexibility? So please find out what your company's doing. If you change it, please let the Business Record know, because they want to shout it from the rooftops. So please leave here and make us all proud.
Well, first, as I was listening across the room, I thought, I don't even know I am here anymore, because you all have the ideas. And I think someone over here said something about hearing out loud things that are thought about all the time. And that's really key, is that these are things and issues that we're all dealing with at some different aspect. And so don't be afraid to talk to somebody about it. We all have different tips or tricks or things that we found that have worked for us, and you've got to cobble together those different tips and tricks to figure out what's going to work for you and your partner. And then, for lack of a better term, we kind of muddle our way through with our focus on, okay, what's the overarching goal? Where are we trying to get together? And it requires that true partnership.
Well, that wraps up our discussion for today. I want to take a quick second to say thank you to all our sponsors, and then can I get a big round of applause for all of our panelists? Again, my name is Chris Kaminsky. If I can ever be of any help, if you have any story ideas, feel free to reach out my way. I'll be glad to talk. Thank you.